Morning everyone. Council meeting for the 26th of September. We will start with our karakia all together.
Ki te uru
Whakatahau
ina ki uta
kia
a
mātara.
tara ki tae. E hi ake ana te atakura. He tio, he huka, he hauhu, e mauri ora. Bowden at 10, Perenara at 9.
Thank you. Apologies this morning we have from Councillor Nalo, we have Councillor Ford online, and Councillor Johnson and Councillor Trillin are actually automatic apologies. So can I have a seconder? Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Carried. We have no public forum this morning. Have you got any conflicts of interest this morning? I've got going to hand over for notifications of extraordinary business to Wendy.
Kia ora, councillors. Just to let you know that I've withdrawn the paper that is in public excluded for 2A Hagley Street. We've had some correspondence overnight with Ngāti Toa, so we'll bring that back to you at some future point.
Thank you. So we move to confirmation of minutes from the 29th of August. I'm going to move that. Seconded by Councillor Weehappy. Any problems with anybody? All those in favour? All those against? Carried. My Mayor's report. It's been a little bit quieter this month, which has been good, and the summer sports have started. I started with the Parramatta Residents Association, where Russell Morrison was made a life member of the association. Jeff and I both collected for the Daffodil Day. We had the Waka Armour Street blessing with Taku, with 10 new homes. With the Porirua Parks been busy, we had Lions vs Southland game. I went to the Porirua City Football prize giving. They've got 77 new players this season, so their club is growing. We had citizenship with 61 candidates being sworn in from 21 nationalities. I attended the Chinese Film Festival with the Chinese ambassador. We had the Porirua Youth Awards celebrating 16 amazing youth, and I have to say we have some outstanding talent in Porirua. The Mexted Crescent blessing, 5 new homes. Caught up with Jenny and team who built those homes. Went to What's Outside the Box, which is for students with disabilities, and went with the Mana College crew. Opening of the Plummerton Croquet season, got to hit the first mallet. I can assure you I'm not very good at that. Pacific Connection Choir, the pre-national showcase. Then I went to the AGM as patron for the Porirua Brass Band. We, of course, had Māori Language Week with the raising of the flag, and our new council waiata performed by our council group. And I keep hearing it over the week, and we're all getting better and better. Taku and I went to the blessing of the Freeman Roofing building, which is the largest shed I think we've ever seen. So they are now open in Porirua. They've moved from the hut. And I called in and visited RV Direct on the corner of Broken Hill Road. So they have gone from a small business to a large business there. So pop in if you're looking for anything. I had the launch of Aroa Nui, which is a group for Pacific women. And I have to say the women in that room, they'd come from all over the country to support the opening of the Porirua branch. That was great. I had the opening of the Whitby Bowling Club season, first ball there. I think I'm a little better at that. Kylie attended the Gurmit Woman of Fiji display, which is on at Pātaka for me at the Bottle Creek Gallery, and I've been and had a look at that, which is worth going to look at. Porirua's Got Talent. I did the final awards for those, presenting with the dancer Sage Nata winning the Supreme Award, and the people that organised that did a fantastic event, and everything was really top-notch. Look forward to next year. We acknowledged Chinese Language Week with the video from Kylie and I. We had International Week of the Deaf flag raising, a first for Porirua. And I have to thank Councillor Duncan and his family for actually making that happen and providing the flag. It was a really successful morning on Monday. Wendy and I went to the Metro Sector meeting in town with some mayors from around the country. And then I've acknowledged the opening of all these businesses that have opened in Kaitahi. Get Fixed have moved in, Coco's Kitchen, Trendy Barber, Kitchen Man and Wilson Barbecue are all now open. So it's starting to get really busy down there. So that's me. How about you, Taku?
Wahama Street, we had the groundbreaking for the new build down at ESR. Tour on tour. We've had our first round of our communication with our people, our communities. We go around, I think the cruise in Nelson today, we're big clusters of our people are. We like to give them an update face to face. And heading to Sydney, I think, next month to visit with our people there. They're quite popular, sort of families that have been away for a long time. So it's important for us to stay connected in that way. We're in discussions with our relations down on Stevens Islands around Tuatara, relocation to Porirua here somewhere. We'll see how that goes. Kia ora.
Thank you. Petitions, there are none. So committee recommendations, Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. Yes, I'd like to move that council accept the recommendations of the Te Puna korero meeting of the 19th of September this year.
Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any issues with anybody? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. So we move to 11.1, Resource Management Act Reforms Update. I'll move it to put it on this table. Seconded by Councillor Hayward. Nick, who's coming to talk to it?
Sorry. Kia ora tātou. I'm Helen Oram, Manager of Climate and Environmental Planning, and I've got Rory Smeaton, Principal Policy Planner with me. So essentially, just very quickly, this paper, as you know, is looking at the changes to the resource management regime and also some regional changes that would potentially affect our district plan. There are lots of announcements happening all the time with not very much detail, so there's a bit of supposition in here or kind of reading between the lines. And the other thing I'd note, which we know of now but we didn't know when the paper was written, is that Greater Wellington are making their decision on the regional policy statement today, and that decision is likely to be notified around the 4th of October. So our planners are getting ready to analyse what comes out of that, because that could have some significant implications for us in the planning space. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, Councillor Hayward.
Kia ora, Kaumātua, korero rather. Mihi kai kanahira katoa he pātai. Thank you very much for coming in and presenting this item. I want to get clarity first of all on recommendation 2. It talks about the Chief Executive working to provide a submission to the government on these issues. Does that exclude the Chief Executive working with other councils in the region or similar sized councils, similar type councils, and working in a joint submission to also highlight the concerns that we've raised?
No, I don't believe it does. For example, when we did a submission on the Natural Resources Plan change, which was a regional council change, we actually did it in with Hutt City Council. We didn't make a joint submission, but we worked with them and essentially had the same items in the submission, so it was half the time that it would have taken normally. So we, with the, we're now into the phase of the Natural Resources Plan where we have to look at whether or not we go to the hearings, and we're looking at whether or not we could align ourselves with Wellington City Council on those, because a lot of the implications are the same for us and Wellington.
Yeah. I note as well that there will be issues shared across the country in terms of similar-sized councils to us, and quasi-metropolitan, whatever you want to call the type of government, the type of council we have. Point 43, and I guess in there the uncertainty of knowing there's partially the uncertainty of knowing what the timeframes that the central government are placing in front of us in terms of what will be clear in terms of what the regime change and the implications for us. But there's also, as is stated in the report, the role of the independent panel working through the PDP as currently as well. So can we, my assumption is that the panel's decision is going to come before any of the major parts of the legislative change are going to be made. So can councillors at least get some guidance as how this is going to work out in terms of informing councillors about these implications as we go along, particularly with regards to the independent panel's decision?
So are you talking about the independent panel for our...
Yes.
So for our plan, we're now at the appeals stage. So we've had appeals so we've had the decision from the panel. People have appealed the district plan provisions. So we had 12 appeals originally, and then it went down to 11 because someone withdrew. And then we've been through a confidential mediation process, which we can't, it's court imposed confidentiality, so we can't talk about it. But we're hoping very soon we will be able to talk about it when those consent orders for decisions that come out of those mediations actually get signed by the judge, Environment Court judge. So when that happens, I will bring back a paper to both ELT and to council to let you know what's happened with the district plan. And then in terms of, so I guess one thing I could say is that we are hoping that we could at least get our district plan partially operative before the end of the year. That's what we're hoping, but it's based on timeframes from the court. So, how long's a piece of string? In terms of informing you about changes that come out of central government, as soon as we get detail.
I was more focusing on our own district plan as opposed to because we will probably find out exactly the same time as officers will as well. They're not going to, I assume, treat us any differently in that regard from central government.
No, absolutely, yes.
Okay, I have no more questions. I'm happy for debate later on, but I've got no questions now.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thanks for the report. It just is so full of intangibles, isn't it? It really is difficult to focus in on anything. The one part that got me was 25 going for housing growth. Third bullet point, talking about requiring councils to plan up to 50 years. What does that's just impossible, surely. And I thought, and to be more responsive to private plan changes, surely we're pretty responsive already, aren't we?
Well, we are. I think the 50 years is to do with the future development strategy. So what the government have said already is that they want us to plan for 30 years in our district plan, which we think, a pretty quick analysis based on a lot of uncertainties, because we're not quite sure what everything means that the government have said, that we are probably okay with that, which is really a great thing, as long as we keep the medium density residential standards. For the future development strategy, well, that's why we have those things like the future urban zones, so what we call the fuzz, which, allows us to plan for areas for future growth. But I think, Councillor Duncan, your guess is as good as mine, but I think that it may well be that we may have more than 30 years growth planned out already, so we may be in a fairly good position, particularly compared to a lot of the councils in the region. Do you agree? Yep.
Anyone else? Did you want anything to say? No?
Yeah, I'll briefly just point out that while we'll wait and see what is coming from both the courts and central government, I share the same concern as Councillor Duncan with regards to a 50-year plan for development. The city alone has just ticked over 50 years. No central government, when Porirua was made a city, would have known precisely the nature of the growth of the city over the succeeding 5 decades. The idea that the central government now would want us to plan for that is just very hard to hold credibility. I also would note my personal feeling is that if there's been a lot of talk in the political space about these have been done as an incentive for government to unlock funding as part of city deals. I think we should all be disabused of the notion that this government's going to ever get around to giving a city deal for the Wellington Regional Metropolitan Councils, ourselves included. So if there's no incentive, all we're getting done is having a government playing with their stick. That's all I have to say. Kia ora.
Well, the government don't actually have an infrastructure plan themselves for that length of time either. So, yeah, until they do that, I'm struggling a bit with that and all the changes. But it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. I'm now going to move we go into public excluded due to commercial sensitivity, commercial position and negotiation reasons. We're going to allow Tom Coleman from TJL Associates to stay in for 12.2 due to the subject matter. Seconded by, sorry, Councillor Duncan beat you to that. All those in favour? All those against? Carried.